Hi, hope you guys are doing okay. So, I do the bulk of my mushroom cultivation indoors, but I also do a fair amount of outdoor cultivation with some beds and so-called spent blocks. They'll continue to produce out here, but eventually it gets to the point to where it's just taking up space in there and it's not really producing as much as a fresh one would, so I just move it out here. Obviously, tropical varieties are going to do best when the weather's warm, and weathers that are more cold weather oriented are going to do better, of course, when it's cold. I've noticed in particular, like the oysters out here, in the summertime, they tend to get really buggy. They can get full of maggots and stuff like that very easily. But once the temperature drops and the insect activity, kind of abates with that, it tends to produce much prettier fruit. They're much beefier and much more resistant to pests and infestations. Now, just quickly, and I know a lot of you do already know this, but a lot of people don't. So we have here a wine cap mushroom. This was a wine cap bed that I made about 7 months ago or so, and I've harvested pretty much everything out of this round so far. Just had a few left that I wanted to let mature, but this little bed produced about 6 or 7 pounds of wine cap mushrooms. Pretty impressive. All I had to do was mix in a little bit of spawn and some wood chips and let it sit there. But this is simply the reproductive organ, you can think about it that way, of a vast underground network of mycelium, and you can see it there. The wine cap, or Stropharia rugoso annulata, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but you get the idea, produces these nice, thick, try to get those in focus there, nice thick rhizomorphs, these are called. Very, very strong root-like network of mycelium. Okay, and so here's the one that we just picked. And here's another one. But this really, first of all, there's no such thing as picking too many mushrooms, because you can think about this almost like an apple tree. You can think about this vast underground network of mycelium, which I'm now exposing. You can see all that white stuff there. All that is mushroom mycelium. See if I can find a little bit better patch over here. There we go. All of that. And so this is actually about 90 to 95% of the organism in most cases. And then once it colonizes whatever substrate it's in, it begins to, usually with a temperature swing or a change in season, the mushrooms will kind of pick up on that and they'll reproduce. But anyway, for all of you who like to pick shame people, there's absolutely no need for that. You can pick as many mushrooms as you like. You can kick them, you can throw them, you're going to help them distribute their spores that way. You're not going to destroy this underground network by picking these. It's simply never going to happen. And so these are, of course, spent fruiting blocks. You see some blue oyster right here. If we move over just a little bit, you can see some chestnuts. You can see a little piopino. Go up here just a little ways. You can see some pink oyster. These are quite saturated and a little bit past prime. I probably won't be eating these. And as you can tell, it's not really doing that great. This is more of a tropical species. They do best in warm weather, although they aren't doing badly. And I found this really interesting. I keep these blocks over here, I've usually got a pile here of some size. Just blocks waiting to be cut open and added to the compost pile there. But if we move one of these, you can see there again, mycelium everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. All of that is mushroom mycelium. What kind, I'm not too sure, but it must have crawled out of the bag and started to colonize, this dead and decaying leaf litter here. So I don't know if that's going to produce anything or not, but it's going to be really cool if it is. And then, of course, the logs. You guys have seen these before already, but I have been picking shiitakes off of these for the last month or so. Really, really nice ones, really big. I mean, caps the size of dinner plates. These logs are, of course, still colonizing, but those are golden oyster. I haven't seen any of those yet, but I was out here yesterday, and if you look right there, you can see a little teeny tiny lion's mane just starting to fruit. And a good question to be asking ourselves probably is this ecologically destructive? Am I going to introduce a bunch of invasive species or something like that? And the answer is no, not really. In the case of, say, like golden oyster, I know that those can be very invasive. Definitely need to be careful with those. I know those are taking a lot of forest over and native woodland to other oyster species. But as far as the others, I'm quite certain that the native species of fungus around here are gonna, they're gonna be a little more aggressive. They're gonna be a little bit more adapted to this climate. And while some of them might take hold in, some of the fallen trees and leaf litter and stuff around my yard, I don't really see it being something that's going to cause a bunch of ripples in the ecosystem. So hopefully not, at any rate. But these are just a few ways that you can introduce, a new microbiome of mushrooms to your yard. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.